Hello! Introducing Keegan, Gray, and Momo, and this is our podcast about crabs, the mysterious animal. We are going to be answering some interesting questions, or we're just going to talk about crabs for no apparent reason. At the end of this, we play Crab Rave also. Again, kind of random. We also do random things that have to do with crabs. So without further ado, let's talk about crabs.
Okay, so you may be thinking, wow, why are we talking about crabs on this random podcast? Well, we decided to do this because we had this thing in class where we would just say, deep thoughts about crabs with Gray and Keegan. Momo was not originally part of this because
I'm depressed.
Because of reasons. And so we just came up with like weird questions like, why are crabs red? How many legs crabs have? And it was completely random. And then one day we were doing art at our school, I believe.
And it was just kind of random, and we were like, yeah, guys, come on, let's just do a podcast. And yeah,
that's the backstory.
So, now let's actually get on to talking about crabs.
So we're going to start by talking about fiddler crabs. Fiddler crabs are just like normal crabs, but instead of having 2 claws, they only have 1. That's much bigger.
Oh my god, instead of having 2 claws, they only have 1. What?
What? I don't get how that's funny and it doesn't make sense.
Instead of having 2 claws, they only have 1.
And what I'm understanding is that you're saying that this thing, you never said where this claw was. For all we know, this thing is a crabicorn.
Exactly. It is literally like pincers at the top of its face.
It's just like a normal crab. It has normal crab claws, but yeah, that's all I have to say about its claws.
Yeah. So what's so special about this crab?
Well,
it's a crabicorn?
No, it only has 1 big claw.
Okay, and also the thing is, most crabs, and a lot of people don't know this, they actually amputate their claws. So fiddler crabs are interesting because not only do they have 1 huge claw, but they physically cannot amputate their claws.
Wait, can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah?
You guys might not know this, but is it physically impossible? Because if they're trying to amputate the bigger claw, the smaller claw is like too weak or something?
They only have 1 claw.
Boy!
I said that like 20 times!
I know! I thought they're just normal crabs with normal claws, but one of them's bigger.
Well, yeah, but normally crabs have 10 legs, but this crab only has 9 legs. Does that make more sense?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so also they can live up to 3 years. That's pretty long for crabs. And lastly, they're 2 inches.
Dude, is this like a paragraph or something?
Yes.
Lastly,
they can grow up to 2 inches, which is small, like me.
So, here on to some fun facts. They're not very fun. Crabs screamed when they're boiled.
So you mean like crabs have vocal cords, and when they're being boiled, they know they're being boiled, so they're just like, "Ay, please, no more."
Actually, no. Because the air, I think this is correct, because the air rushes out of them and kind of quickly and kind of creates like a whistling sound. So it's not like oh my god, why are you doing this to me? It's more of like a, ah.
So is there any way to, I don't know how to put this, humanely kill crabs?
A humane way to kill crabs is if you buy them live, or you do catch them live, you would put them in the freezer because it kind of numbs. So let's say you're at the doctor's, right? And sometimes they put liquid nitrogen on a wound to freeze it and make it so you can't feel that spot. It hurts, but it numbs it. That's pretty much what you're doing to crabs. It completely numbs the area, and the crabs can't feel when
So they're just like completely numb, and they're just like knuckle dragging Neanderthals?
Kind of, yes. On to another fun fact. A very sad fact is something called crab mentality. If someone puts a group of crabs in a bucket, the actual crabs can get out, but they know it's very hard, and they just kind of give up. And it's very sad because anytime you put one in a bucket or like a bowl,
do they die?
Yeah, they give up and die.
And how do they die? Do they like stab themselves with their claws, or just starve to death over time?
So most of the time this happens on ships where they just put crabs in a bucket of water, and the crabs struggle to get out. They can get out.
They know they can get out?
Yes, they know they can get out. They just don't.
They don't want to try.
And they give up and starve to death.
And what's really, really sad is that even the crabs who know that they want to get out and try to get out, the other crabs just pull them back in.
Pretty much, yes.
They don't let them leave.
If you look up something on Google called crab mentality, you can see anytime a crab is trying to get out, there's another crab grabbing behind it. It's completely sad.
Why do they do that? Because they want all it's like all or no one?
I believe, I actually have not completely researched why they do that, but I believe it's because the other crabs want to get out. And again, this is very sad, but the crabs up top don't have enough strength and end up just getting pulled.
Now we're going to talk about that nagging question, crab fans / lovers. All, I don't know, maybe you marvel about it? Legs and arms. Okay, so this is, I don't know. So I'm just going to start by,
question.
I'm just going to start by Momo. How many legs do you think crabs have?
6 to 10-ish?
Keegan?
I'd say 8 to 10.
Well, you guys might be surprised. Crabs are actually decapods, meaning they have 10 legs. They have 8 legs and 2 grasping claws, which are actually just modified legs.
That is very interesting.
But I just don't think that's complete. Are their grasping claws considered legs? What do you think?
I guess that is a very debatable question. I would consider it as a leg because at times it could help it walk, but otherwise,
I don't think so.
But otherwise, think about this. Are our hands considered legs? Are our hands considered
No, they're
feet?
not. But their claws aren't considered arms.
Correct. But our hands could, quote unquote, help us walk if something happened to our legs.
So
Yes,
just like animals, like a dog or your cat or your hamster or something like that, they have 4 legs, and would you consider their top legs arms?
I would not consider that.
I would
I
not.
would consider arms to have something at the end that you can grasp with.
What about their paws, though? Would those be considered hands?
I wouldn't consider that because their paws would be something that they don't grasp something with. I consider hands to be something that you can hold on and hold something with.
But
So-
my cat pulls his water bowl.
but he doesn't have, I guess, he can't grab it and like lift
Pick it
it up
up.
in the air and like
Move it around?
move it around. Yeah. But again, back to crabs. Yes, they can pick it up, but like let's say one of their legs comes off, right? Because as
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier,
They
can
amputate.
They amputate their legs.
Or their claws.
Well, okay. I did some researching a while back, and back on the dogs question, they don't have any arms, and it's the same with crabs. Everything is legs, no arms. Basically, to sum it up, even though it's a debatable question, scientifically proven, crabs' claws are actually legs. Okay, so our first theory is that crabs originally came from space.
Can you explain more about that?
While we were surfing the web, searching for our crab facts, as you may call them, we saw this theory, and it was picked up by a Mars rover or some
A picture
rover,
of a crab on Mars.
some
Wait.
rover on a planet.
Explain.
And I didn't see.
Well-
it said that there was a crab in this picture, and I didn't
Yeah,
see it at first.
there's
but
a
after
picture-
but after closer
Inspection.
inspection, yeah,
So-
there was a crab.
If you
in
Google
the picture.
alien crabs and click on this one website, I don't remember what it's called, there's a picture and it's red dunes that looks like Mars. And from a rover, you can see a red crab. I honestly think it's
Excuse me.
Photoshop.
Excuse me. So I actually did find this article, and it's a giant space crab. I don't know if you guys would know this, but how large would you consider this crab to be?
I don't know.
I'd
I'd say
6 inches tall.
I'd say about 6 or 7 feet if it's a giant space crab.
The thing is, it might just be a rock formation. It might just
That
be
looks exactly
photoshopped.
like a crab.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
might
think
just
it's
be
photoshopped.
So we don't know if this is true or not. I just think it's a really cool theory that some people
That
have.
some
about
people have?
crabs.
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, think about this. If people still think the world is flat, I think people would go that far to Photoshop a crab into a photo.
Yeah, I think, on the world being flat, there's people saying that NASA uses fisheye lenses to make it look like the world's round, but the thing is,
That's
I think,
another talk.
but I think, once again, with the crabs, if there's a crab on a planet, I just think it's honestly Photoshop. I don't think there's crabs in space.
You know, I don't think it's photoshopped.
I think most people agree
but
with
it's
me.
quite possibly just the rock formations that are there.
Well,
I honestly think it's
Well, think
photoshopped.
about this. Yes, I know NASA found water on Mars, I believe, right?
No,
no,
water.
they
I
didn't
think
find
it was.
water. They
It
just
was.
found evidence
They
that
found
there was
evidence
water.
that there was water, right?
Yeah, they found
So,
liquid methane on
this-
Titan.
This thing, or whatever it is, right? If it is living, it
Yeah.
would have to survive without oxygen. It would have to survive without water. It would have
How
to
do you know
survive-
it needs oxygen?
Well, if it didn't, it would have to adapt, and I believe it could adapt to do that. But to stay alive, you need nutrients, and you get that from water and food.
Yeah.
So
How do you know it doesn't need those though? It may not need them.
then it's really not a living thing.
But
I know.
it might be adapted to not needing them.
Correct. It might be adapted to not need them for a way longer time than, let's say, humans or crabs like on our planet do. But
Yeah.
it is literally physically impossible for something to go hundreds of billions of years.
How do you know it's hundreds of billions of years old though? It could have.
See, I see you have a point there, but I'm just, again, this is just being out there. Let's say we don't know God knows if this is real, and
I think it's fake.
who knows if this thing is there, right? But something can't go forever in its entire life without getting nutrients.
How do you know it doesn't
I
get
was
nutrients
just
from the
thinking-
soil?
I was
Could
just
be
thinking,
adapted.
as you guys were talking, and we all agreed that there's evidence, and this is scientifically proven, there's evidence that there used to be waters on Mars.
Correct.
But
So how about what if that crab rock formation photoshopped
Whatever
is
it
actually
is.
just a fossil of a crab that used to be on Mars when there's
that
water
could,
on
I think that
Mars?
could honestly really be true.
But wait, can I ask you a question? Yes, that is a very, 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 very good theory, right?
I honestly
But
think
just-
I actually
hey,
think
hear
that
me
could
out,
be a
hear me out, hear
fossil.
me out. If that is a fossil, right, and NASA probably knows about this because I feel like they know a lot about stuff that's posted about them.
Well, NASA's got to inspect every single picture that they pick up from a Mars rover.
Correct. So
I think it's photoshopped still.
If it is photoshopped, right, or whatever it is, I feel like if it was photoshopped, NASA would call it out. And if it's real, they'd stay silent about it. And they haven't said anything about it so far. So I believe there could have been life once on Mars.
Yeah,
but
since
is
there was
not
water.
anymore.
But there's no oxygen, like you were saying.
I know, but dude, that's where I got you there. You said, what if the thing adapted to have no oxygen?
Yeah.
I got you there.
But like you said about the minerals, couldn't it have got minerals from the soil?
Correct. But I don't know, maybe they're cannibals and eat each other. This theory has gone way too deep.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly think the theory could be real. The crab might have lived, but I feel like it also quite possibly could have been photoshopped then.
So to start talking about theories, we have a theory about Mr. Krabs. I know it sounds stupid,
The iconic SpongeBob
The iconic
character, if
SpongeBob
any,
character,
if
yeah.
any of you guys were wondering.
but our theory about Mr. Krabs is that he's a cannibal.
Okay, so when I first heard this theory, I was like, well, they would never do that in a kid's show, right?
But you were wrong.
This is like not even a theory about real crabs. It's just like a funny theory
This
that
is a-
people have.
Yeah.
And it
About
actually
a kid's show.
it lines up pretty well. So, have you ever thought the Krusty Krab looked similar to a fish
Crab trap.
Come on, the quote-unquote secret formula. Have you ever wondered what the secret formula was?
What
It's
is
crab.
it? It's crab.
It's crab.
So then, and you see in the iconic show, you always see Mr. Krabs just like, oh.
He is a cannibal. Why you do this to me?
Okay, but well, another theory about Mr. Krabs we have is he is a founder of crabs. He's their leader. They all bow down to Mr. Krabs
Well,
because if you think about it, actually, Morgan, you can talk.
It's like the crab. It's like the crab Illuminati. It's like there's the person at the top, right? Mr. Krabs is obsessed with money. Everything goes to the top. It's like pretty much a pyramid scheme. It goes up, right? The top gets rich, the bottom doesn't.
Yeah,
He's
pretty
like,
much.
it's pretty much like The new world order. Crabs are taking over. Everybody get down to their basements and take cover.
Yep.
Now, this
Hide
theory
because
is-
the crab apocalypse might come soon.
This theory is proven not to be true because
No, you're wrong. It's true. I believe it's true.
Which one? The leader of the crabs or
Leader
the
of the
actual or the
crabs.
secret formula?
Leader of
I
the crabs. It's not like, yeah, it's pretty much proven not true because
Yeah.
when was the first crab found? Couple hundred, maybe thousand,
know.
maybe even more than that. Something
That's when
years ago.
That's when it was
Then
found,
there's
Grayson.
China, who's making like random shows.
Well,
It was
doesn't matter, Mama.
found.
Exactly.
That's when it was found, Grayson.
That's why I disagree
but-
with you guys on all of this. The first crab was like found and discovered and logged thousands of years
Yeah,
ago. So
but that doesn't mean Mr. Krabs can't be the leader.
Well,
well,
guys,
it kind of
guys,
does because TV wasn't invented
can I-
until
I-
a
can I
long
just say
time
something?
later.
the show
Can I-
came out
can
in
I just say something?
1999. Yeah.
So this sounds ridiculous, but what if the giant space crab's the leader?
Yeah. Wait, I think
How do we know there's only one space crab though? And how
Yeah,
do we even
there
know
are
which one's a
20.
space crab? There might be more than one.
the space
crab.
crabs could be invading.
Oh crab! Hashtag bad
Hashtag
jokes.
oh crab, bad puns.
Post on Instagram. Hashtag oh crab. So, yeah, those were some really interesting theories.
Well,
We had fun ruining your childhood.
lock your doors and hide your children. The crab apocalypse might be coming any minute.
Well, we are now on to interesting crabs and why they're interesting. We're also going to be sharing some different facts about these
And
crabs
species?
and the species of them. Here's Keegan.
Our first special species of crabs is the orangutan crab. An orangutan crab is in the Indo-Pacific Ocean.
Or first, before you even tell us this, why is it called the orangutan crab? Like, what makes it?
looks
the
like an
crab?
orangutan. It has orange hair all over it, which sounds cool.
And
So
I,
crabs can have orange hair, or is it just like?
I believe
well,
it. I believe it
the
has a
website-
kind of glowing head to it, and the rest of the body is completely brown.
Orangutan crabs have a shaggy coat of thick red hair covering their bodies.
That's interesting because I thought crabs just could not have hair.
I know, but
That's
this
what I
species
thought
can't.
before I saw this crab, and that is why we're putting it on the list for one of the most interesting crabs.
Also, we're going to talk later about this Japanese spider crab. This is part of the spider crab family, so that's cool. It grooms itself with its long pinchers, and next up we'll talk to Morgan about the candy crab.
So the candy crab is called the candy crab because of its bright and vibrant colors. I put it on this list specifically because of how it camouflages. It can be pink, yellow, red, or white, and blends in with the coral underneath. It hides and has naturally kind of spiny body to blend in with the actual flowers. It is
So, what I think interesting about that, when you say spiky, do you mean kind of like skin flaps that make it look spiky, or actual
Or
like
like literally
bone spikes?
spicy.
I wouldn't consider it to be a threat to you. It wouldn't be something
You
that
would
you have
want
to
to
worry about,
mess with. It
but-
also would be something you would go. "Wah!"
It said pointed spines cover its carapace. Keegan, you know what a carapace
A
is,
carapace
right?
is like the hard upper shell of them.
correct. And these crabs can grow up to 0.8 inches or 2 centimeters.
And since the spikes grow up on the upper
That's-
carapace, I'm guessing that the spikes are bone because the shell
the shell's bone.
the shell's made of like keratin.
Now we're going to talk about the horseshoe crab, which is possibly the strangest looking of all crabs. The website says it dates back over 450 million years.
And to be honest with you, it looks like an alien.
It does, honestly. Just look up horseshoe crab. It looks
Like-
pretty cool.
Let's say a lot of you guys probably know what trilobites are, those ancient crabs.
Yeah.
Picture a trilobite living today, and that's what a horseshoe crab looks
Well,
like.
Correct.
No, because it has a dome-shaped carapace that covers its entire
Most of its body. Well,
its entire body,
add a
and it has a
dome-shaped-
it has a long tail, so that it doesn't become overturned.
add a
if-
dome-shaped carapace and a long tail, and you got a horseshoe crab.
If any of you have ever seen a horseshoe crab, the tail is not venomous.
But it's long.
It is a long tail.
It isn't a crab, though. It's more closely related to arachnids and crustaceans because it has no hemoglobin, which is a copper-based blood. Oh, wait. The blood is blue, apparently.
So,
So they can detect bacterial toxins.
Back to the theories. Is this the crab we saw
Is this
on
the
Mars?
alien crab we see on Mars?
It bleeds blue. Come on, people. That has to be an alien.
Humans
It
harvest
is.
blood of horseshoe crabs,
It's
using
not
it to
a
test
lethal
out the
procedure, so I can use
sterility.
it to test out the
Sterility? I don't know how to say it.
And
That's
this is exactly
weird.
why I have no faith in humanity. They kill the most beautiful creature
No.
on the planet.
non-lethal procedure. It says each year humans harvest the blood of horseshoe crabs via a non-lethal procedure, so that can be used to test the sterility of medical equipment and inventory drugs. Sorry, it's 12:45.
Okay.
Now to Momo again about the pom-pom crab.
So the pom-pom crab is also known as the boxer crab.
Why is it called the boxer crab? We're looking at a website right now. Shout out to Scuba Diver Life. And the pom-pom crab literally looks exactly like
a pom-
it's literally just got pom-poms for claws.
It looks like it's holding pom-poms. It is very interesting. It's actually
Yeah,
a very
it does.
beautiful crab.
It does look very beautiful. It's tiny though, right?
Uh-huh. It is very, very, very... I believe it is very small. In the end, the pom-pom crab gets the best deal out of the relationship. However, it is also to feast on the food particles trapped by the waving tentacles. These small crabs are,
Photogenic.
yes.
With banded legs and a trapezoid carapace covered in geometric blocks of color.
They are very, very, very bright crabs.
Yeah, if you look at them, they look very bright.
Okay, on to Grayson with the Japanese spider
The
crab.
Japanese
I
spider-
think the Japanese spider crab is the most interesting crab on this list. People may disagree with me, but I think it's really cool. The thing that's cool about it is that it's huge. It may look small,
12 feet,
but the Japanese
actually.
spider crab not only has the largest leg span of any living arthropod,
It weighs up to 42 pounds.
and the leg span
But-
can be up to 12 feet wide.
You know what's funny? It weighs 42 pounds. When I was 8 years old, I weighed like 40.
These crabs are also interesting because the absolute shallowest these crabs will live is 160 feet deep. Usually,
Which is extremely deep, right?
yeah, and usually they live to 2,000 feet deep.
And to think about that, that would physically hurt us with the pressure.
Yeah, any watches you have on or any of that stuff,
In
it
the
would start
last-
exploding and stuff.
And the
because of
last
the
thing
pressure.
is that the Japanese spider crab is not only the largest crab in the world, but it's the longest living crab in the world, and it can live up to 100 years.
Think about that. The lifespan of a crab is over or around 100 years.
It is?
For the Japanese spider crab,
Oh.
yes.
Because for the fiddler crabs, it was 3.
Think about that. It's insane. So, that was the 5 most amazing crabs we could find.
So which one do you guys think was the most amazing, just to finish up?
To be honest with you, I would either say the horseshoe crab or the Japanese spider crab.
I think the Japanese
I
spider
would say the
crab.
horseshoe crab because of the blue blood and that stuff.
I say the Japanese spider crab because of how huge it is.
I'd say, I think it's a living alien, the horseshoe crab, which is why I think it would be the best.
But
It's not an alien. It's because of the toxins in its blood that makes it blue.
I know, but that's pretty cool.
I think with looks, I have to give it to the candy crab.
Yeah, candy crab, 100%.
Candy crab. No,
Or
maybe the
pom-pom.
pom-pom crab.
I'd say pom-pom,
Because it looks
actually.
like it's
I don't know.
holding
It looks like a
pom-poms.
cheerleader.
I don't know. The orangutan crab is pretty cool because of how
Oh,
like orange.
and the
I
glowing
think
head,
the
kinda.
orangutan crab is probably the weirdest looking crab because it's
Yeah.
literally like
No,
picture
No, I think
a
the
crab
horseshoe.
that
Yeah,
looks like an
horseshoe
orangutan.
looks so-
I think the horseshoe.
the
crab.
horseshoe looks like a
If
stingray.
I
to
saw
me.
that laying on the beach, I'd be like,
I'd be like,
Predator,
"More-
you forgot
nope."
your pet down here.
Okay.
And that was the 5 most
Next, we're
amazing
gonna
crabs
start
we could
talk.
find.
We're gonna talk about more crabs because it's a crab podcast, and maybe tell some jokes.
Hello. So, update on the most interesting crab. We found a different one afterwards. Yay!
It's called the arrow crab.
or the Stentoranius secacorneus crab.
And its head literally looks like it's an arrow. Like, you know those, I don't know how to picture it. Like, if you had
It's a triangle with a sharp tip.
yeah, it's like if you had like a really pointy hat on and it just kept going, this is what this crab looks like. It's really hard to understand.
So-
Its head looks like a bow and arrow, pretty much.
just look up arrow crab and you'll see what we're looking for. It's just really,
It has very thin legs and it's very small.
it's hard to
So
describe.
Here are some facts about it. It lives in the Atlantic Ocean. It is more commonly known as the yellow line arrow crab, and it is most commonly found along coral reefs in the Caribbean and Atlantic Ocean.
Do you know how deep this arrow crab creature usually lives?
It lives just under the reef, so pretty much kind of in all the coral.
100 feet-ish.
Around that. The yellow line arrow crab is averaged to 3 to 6 centimeters in length, which makes the yellow line arrow crab unusual. It has the long spider-like legs and extremely pointed head. The 8 legs are extremely long, more than 3 times the size of its body.
Wait, only 8 legs?
Yes, it only has 8 legs.
So it's an arachnid?
It would be considered, but it's still
Well, Momo,
crustacean.
if you guys remember, crabs
It's a-
crabs are decapods. So, Momo, does this crab have 8 legs and 2 claws, or just 8 legs?
It has claws.
It resembles.
On the picture it has claws, except for they're extremely small.
And it does have 8 legs, right, Keegan?
8 legs, 2 claws, yeah.
Yeah. So then they have 10 legs.
Oh, and by the way, receiving some new information, it lives in the depth in the coral reefs around 10 to 30 feet down.
Oh, so that's not as deep as the Japanese spider crab,
No.
but
It's about 2,000.
still deep enough that the water pressure would mess with your mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
Its long legs resemble daddy long legged spider. The entire body of the yellow line arrow crab is a medium golden brown color. Along the dorsal side of the crab's body, the stripes are white, brown, or gold, depending on the individual crab. The tips of their legs are deep violet in color. All crabs grow occasionally and shed their exoskeleton, and new skin hardens with calcium carbonate.
You said that this crab sheds its exoskeleton. Do all crabs shed this exoskeleton?
I do not believe so. Let me check really quickly.
Okay, so while Momo's checking, basically what we're saying.
Crabs don't shed like exoskeletons, they molt. They grow and they outgrow their shell.
Correct.
Then
So all
they
crabs.
don't have an exoskeleton that does not grow. They must shed their shells, a process called molting. Just as we outgrow our clothing, crabs outgrow their shells.
What about hermit crabs? Do they like change shells as their form
Yes.
of shedding?
So, back to the SpongeBob theory. In one episode, Mr. Krabs, again, I'm not a SpongeBob fan, I just know this from my childhood. Mr. Krabs does in fact shed his shell at one point in the episode, and then finds a bigger one afterwards. So, I know this is a cartoon, but afterwards, yes, it does prove.
Mr. Krabs is still a crab.
After this, it does prove that crabs do, at least hermit crabs shed their shells.
Hermit crabs lose their shells and find new ones, and other crabs
And that's their
molt.
form of shedding?
Yes,
Yes.
other crabs. Every crab molts at least.
Yes, depending on what the kind of crab is in different ways.
So, we think that the most interesting crab is the arrow crab because it's tiny and it's arrow-like head.
Yes, and I'm telling you, it looks like an alien.
It
Wonder
does.
if it bleeds blue.
Like the whatever it is, horseshoe.
Horseshoe, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about some other theories and more species of crabs. So, we're going to start by talking about crab traps. There are 6 main types of crab traps.
And this may sound inhumane and like,
And kind of like mean to trap crabs. And
but it's on the subject of crabs, and you may as well know how these work.
It's
So,
kind of terrible, actually.
there are 6 different main traps. The Maryland crab pot, the West Coast crab pot, the ring crab traps, pyramid crab traps, box crab traps, and short line crab fishing.
So wait, are there like specific differences between each crab trap that make them better, or?
Better or worse, yeah.
Okay.
So the one that sounded most interesting to me, which I'd like to start out on, is the pyramid crab trap. Can you explain to me how that works?
So they're flat when lying on the bottom of the seafloor, but they raise to the surface and form the shape of a pyramid. It's similar to the ring crab trap because there are no walls or cage that prevent the crabs from escaping before pulling it to the surface. But the benefits of the pyramid crab trap over the ring crab trap is that the pyramid crab trap is slightly sturdier and can be used in waters with stronger currents.
So you said the benefit over the ring crab trap. Now can you please explain the ring crab
Yep.
trap?
Yes, please.
They're very popular on the Oregon and Washington coast. They're used in river mouths and protected bays, but it is possible to use crab rings off open shoreline. A crab ring is a simple piece of equipment that contains two wire rings from the top and bottom of a collapsible basket. The lower ring is smaller than the upper ring and connected with a stronger netting that forms the sides. Heavy chicken wire, cotton webbing, or other suitable materials are used for the bottom.
You know what? My brother has this. He used to be like super into crawfish, and he has this crawfish trap, and I think it's exactly what you're describing.
Can I ask
It's
you?
more like rings and there's kind of netting.
Can I ask you a
Yeah, that's
question?
what you're
And
describing.
they go in it kind of locks.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Quickly, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So explain to me, how would a crab get trapped in this?
They kind
Yeah,
of
because if they
go
can get in,
in-
can't they just get out?
Correct.
Well, the
As
thing
is
is,
stated in the pyramid,
they
it
go
doesn't have
in
anything
and
to
it-
prevent it from coming out.
I don't understand it really, but what it's saying is there's wire nets that kind of close, trapping them in.
So it's kind of like, it's pretty much kind of squishing the crab into the.
Or is it crab mentality?
Not crab mentality. It's shutting so that it's shutting so that they can't escape without cutting themselves open.
Okay.
Again, revisiting crab mentality. We learned a new thing that the crabs will actually gain up on the crab that's trying to get out and rip its arms and legs off.
And if the crab keeps trying to get out, the other crabs will end up
They'll
killing
kill
them.
it.
yeah, and that's not very good.
The main trap that people use is a Maryland crab pot.
And why is that better over other traps, or why do they mainly
It
use
has
it?
four openings that are constructed so that when the crabs enter to eat the base, they cannot escape and become immediately trapped. Once the crab becomes trapped and cannot leave the same way they entered, they float upward and go through the openings of the inner wire portion, which permanently traps the crab. It's saying they get stuck because it's too small. They can get in, but it's smaller so that they can't go.
So wait, if you're saying
They can go
have-
down.
wait.
They can go down because they have downward momentum, but when they try to go up, they don't have enough to get.
So wait, really quickly.
That makes sense.
Really quickly, if they come up to the surface, right?
But they can't. He can just explain that.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, like when the human, right, does want
Brings
to get
them
the
up.
crab back and brings them up, right?
Yep.
And again, I do not want to think about this because crabs are beautiful, but when the human does want to,
Kill it.
kill the crab, then how does it work to get it out? Because as you said, it quote unquote permanently gets stuck.
Would they like cut the trap
No,
or
So do you
like?
have to get a new trap every single time, or is
No,
it like,
they go through the openings of inner wire portion. So there's boxes on the inside that will permanently trap
so
them.
they just since the crab can't go up, the human just puts his arm in and then
No.
takes the crab out of the.
No, they can't. There's something below them, which is more like wire boxes that they get trapped in. It's confusing.
Oh, okay.
okay? Is there any way for any of these traps for the crab to get out of it?
Like, is
Not-
it physically possible for a crab to get out, or is it just crab mentality?
It's pretty much crab mentality.
I wouldn't consider it crab mentality. I consider it crab fatality because crab mentality is when they murder each other.
If you want to see what they look like, look up
yeah.
crab pot. You can see there's like an entrance that they go through. Then there's more boxes on the inside.
So then the
Now that
crab.
we're looking at it, it makes a lot more sense.
So yeah, that looks a lot better.
Then let's see, pyramid trap is the other one.
But speaking of which, the rounder trap, I can see what's going on in it now, and it makes a lot more sense.
Which is weird because wouldn't you think crab traps is square? Or like
Then-
rectangular prism-y question mark?
I've really never thought about crab traps. I've always thought crabs are just beautiful creatures, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see them die.
Well, yeah, but think about the sushi.
Oh god.
What would you do without crab sushi?
I'd eat tuna.
Morgan, this is what the pyramid one looks like.
You got a point
Okay.
there.
Oh, okay. So that's the pyramid one.
But it
correct?
inflates so that they can't come out because it starts
Oh,
going
okay.
up.
Okay. Yeah, that looks a lot better.
Just look up pyramid crab traps and then go to images and you'll see what we're talking about.
Yes. It is very interesting. And
Yeah, you can understand them if you look.
see, I have to say, that would not be a way I would like to go out. Like,
Yeah, honestly.
getting stuck in something then being boiled.
That you can like you see the exit to and you just can't get to the exit.
I would
Do you know
rather
what's
so
die
horrible?
to a crab
Do you know what I
trap than
don't like
be
about it?
crab mentality.
Humans nowadays are killing these crabs in such unhumane ways. I actually was reading an article.
Boiling them for screaming.
Well, this wasn't like crabs, but this was a fish. It's very, it's not common in Japan, but they eat it, that it's kind of a rare fish in Japan. They literally take it out of the fish tank in the thing. They don't have any room to swim around in, right? It said in the article that they have to keep it alive as long as possible. And they cut it open while it's still alive. And literally while it's still like breathing and the organs are still pumping, they're like cutting it open.
Well, yeah, but
If you guys
think
can see
about
my
it.
face, I'm literally cringing right now.
Yeah, he's cringing.
What's
Well,
it
think
called?
about it. When you're like fishing on a boat, you just hit fish against the side of the boat to kill them.
It's
Do you know what it's
terrible.
called? The fish that they just cut open?
Okay, guys, I
Well,
know
it is terrible, but at the same time, there's not really a more humanely way to kill it. It's kind of really hard.
people listening to this podcast right now. I know this is kind of turned a little bit brutal, but think about this. I like fish. I am a sushi guy. I like
I love
sushi,
sushi.
right? But I'm not trying to convince you to become like a vegan or a vegetarian, right?
I'm not vegetarian
just-
or vegan.
Yeah, just think about this.
My
Just be
sister's
more aware of what
pescatarian.
crabs have to go
Or
to
like-
just
or
get on your
or
plate.
any animal. Think
And
about
guys,
this. Think
but-
about this.
If you're
There's
eating crab sushi, it's fake crab. It's crab replica. I have some upstairs.
Just like specifically like fish, right? Again,
Yeah.
this happens to all animals and maybe in brutal ways, but like there's like fishing. You could imagine you getting taken and getting smacked on the side of a boat.
so
and
if
then
someone
you're just,
ripped
like,
us,
gone.
And you're gone.
so if someone reached through my roof right now, ripped us out, and hit us against my wall, and we're dead.
They're taking us from our home. So imagine like a giant hand breaking through your wall and grabbing you through your hand, then hitting you on your own backyard.
And
Just think about that.
That's what fish and crabs have to go to just to get on your plate.
It's terrifying.
Except
You know,
for-
I'm
Except
I
for
love
crabs where they
fish.
boil them, and it's just gotta be. It's gotta be so heartbreaking when you just hear them scream.
When you have,
I know they don't have vocal cords, and I know that's not the real scream. But like, come on, it's still screaming. It's still a living creature.
it's still a living creature that you're boiling.
Again, I am a sushi person. I like sushi. I like fish in general. But like, what these animals have to go through just to get us satisfied is terrible.
Learning about this
Yeah.
podcast has made me more aware about fish and crabs.
Okay, so I know this is getting off topic, but think about what happens to like cows, right? And
Yeah.
In let's say
Like
I'm
chickens.
not gonna name-
Chickens,
I'm
they
not-
draw. My sister read a book to kill chickens. They put them in electric water to kill them.
So I'm not gonna name any specific countries right now, right? But sharks, right?
Yeah.
There's this delicacy in one specific country.
Where they would kill sharks just for their fins.
Correct. They would literally take a knife, fish sharks out of the water, cut their fins off, and throw their still alive bodies in the water to drown. Just imagine this. Let's say you took you, right? Somebody took you out of the water, cut your arms and legs off, right?
Then threw you back.
Then threw you back in the water to drown. How terrible is that? Like Loki,
You
they're
sound
killing
angry
They're
right
killing
now.
these in the most unhumane ways ever.
Well, yeah, but is there a more humane way to kill things?
Yes, 100%.
Yes,
you
like-
you don't have to
Poison them.
literally take something, cut its limbs off, and let it drown.
You can kill it, then use the rest of it. Like it's one thing if you poison it, then use the rest of it.
I'm not saying I agree with people that kill animals just to get the meat, but at least use all of it. I'm not saying you have to eat like the organs and
Like
stuff.
Indians and stuff
Just
used
use
everything.
Use everything.
Yeah.
Indians just used,
If you're gonna-
like, they kill buffalo and they'd use literally
They
everything.
use the bladders as water bottles.
See,
and
I
stuff
know
like
this
that.
is getting off topic from crabs, but I want you to be aware. This podcast it's turning into spreading awareness about these things. This is happening. It might not be happening right in front of you right now, but it's still happening.
It's happening.
It's happening, and animals are dying because people think, I want a tiny bit of this shark's eye. And
Well,
then they
if
turn
this-
the entire
if-
eye out and take their tiny bit, and the shark is blind and dies.
If this
pretty much.
podcast starts getting popular, I have to say this might offend a couple people.
And we talked about the 3 main crab
Humans
traps.
have done so many things to the planet. Like, we don't deserve all of this. I know I'm a human and I like my life right now, but we don't deserve a lot of the things we have. We literally kill like animals that are just beautiful and just like roaming and living their lives like us just for our satisfaction. It's terrible. I feel terrible about this.
So we talked about the 3 main crab traps.
And we talked about the awareness
Yeah, but
about
we-
animal killing.
And we got very off topic. At least a couple of you are now knowing a couple things you might not have.
Thanks for listening to Deep Sea Wonders.